The night sky was quiet over the Nevada desert. Eli Warren sat alone inside a small observatory, surrounded by computers, screens, and the soft hum of cooling fans. He had been awake for hours, staring at a strange pattern of lights on his main monitor. Something out there was pulsing, slow, rhythmic, and too regular to be random. He rubbed his tired eyes and leaned closer to the data. The signal had first appeared 3 nights ago, a repeating wave coming from deep space. It wasn't from a satellite or a known star system. It was coming from the empty dark between galaxies. This doesn't make sense, Eli muttered to himself, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Nothing human could be that far out. Outside, the wind howled against the metal walls. The observatory was isolated, miles away from the nearest town. Eli had chosen this lonely place because he liked peace and quiet. The stars were his friends, and their silence comforted him. But tonight, something in that silence felt wrong, like the universe was whispering a secret too heavy to carry. He checked the time, 2:47 a.m. He poured another cup of coffee and returned to the screens. The signal's frequency began to shift. Lines of code flickered on the display. The computer beeped as if reacting to something unseen. Eli frowned. "Come on, what are you trying to tell me?" Then the lights in the observatory suddenly blinked off. The screens went dark. The hum of the machines stopped. Only the faint red glow of the emergency light remained. "Not now," Eli groaned. He grabbed a flashlight and checked the circuit board. Everything seemed fine. No storm, no damage. The power outage didn't make sense. That was when it happened. A bright blue flash filled the room, so bright that Eli covered his eyes. The air vibrated with a deep humming sound, like 1,000 voices whispering at once. And in the center of the room, just a few steps from him, space itself seemed to twist, as if invisible hands were folding it like paper. A figure appeared out of the light and collapsed to the floor. Eli's heart pounded. He froze for a second, then ran forward. It was a woman. She looked young, maybe in her 20s, with pale skin and long dark hair that shimmered faintly like it had starlight trapped inside. Her clothes were strange, smooth silver fabric that glowed softly at the edges. She was breathing fast, her hand pressed against a small device on her wrist. "Hey, are you all right?" Eli knelt beside her, unsure what to do. Her eyes opened slowly, and when they did, he saw that they weren't normal. They were silver blue, filled with faint points of light like tiny galaxies. She looked at him, confused but focused. "You must listen," she said weakly. "You are Eli Warren?" Eli's mouth went dry. "Yes, who are you?" "How do you know my name?" She tried to sit up, wincing as if the air itself was heavy for her. "I came from far away, from the Asterian colony. You don't have much time. The stars are dying," Eli blinked. "The what?" "The stars," she whispered. "Something is taking them." One by one, he helped her to a chair. Her skin was cold, her hands trembling slightly. She looked human, but something about her presence felt unreal, like she didn't fully belong to this world. Eli grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You need to rest." "You're hurt," she shook her head. "No time. The signal you found, it's a cry for help." Eli's heart raced. "That pattern I saw, it came from you." "Not from me," she said softly. "From the dying systems. It's spreading faster now. I tried to stop it, but my ship failed." He stared at her, trying to make sense of her words. "Wait, are you saying you're from space? From another planet?" She nodded weakly. "My name is Lyra, my people. We were once human too. Long ago, we left Earth to find a new home among the stars. We learned to travel through light itself." Eli couldn't believe what he was hearing, but something deep inside him, maybe the same part that made him stare at the stars every night, told him she was telling the truth. He turned toward his computers. "I can show you the signal. Maybe it matches what you're talking about." The power flickered back on by itself. The screens came to life. Data lines began to scroll again. Only this time the signal was stronger. It wasn't random noise anymore. It had structure. It looked almost like a message. Lyra's eyes widened. "It found me," she whispered. "What do you mean, it found you?" She stood up unsteadily and stared at the monitor. The pattern pulsed faster and faster. "It knows where I am," she said. "I brought it with me." Eli's breath caught in his throat. "You mean that signal?" "It's alive." "Not alive," Lyra replied, her voice shaking. "It's a machine. A vast network made to erase civilizations when they reach a certain point. It is older than your son, Eli felt cold. That's impossible. Lyra turned to him, her glowing eyes serious. You have to believe me. It has already destroyed dozens of worlds, and now it's coming for this one. The computer started to beep loudly, a warning tone. The signal was no longer coming from deep space. It was now echoing back from Earth's own orbit. Lyra's hand trembled. No. It's here sooner than I thought. Eli's mind raced. If it's a machine, can we stop it? She shook her head. Not yet. You must send a message to your people. Tell them to prepare, to look at the stars and see which ones are fading. That is how it begins. Eli looked at her, still trying to keep calm. All right. We'll send a message. I just need to know what to say. Before Lyra could answer, the lights flickered again. A loud crack of thunder echoed outside. Eli ran to the window. The sky above the desert was no longer dark. A thin blue line of light cut across the horizon, glowing faintly and moving like a wave. What is that? He whispered. Lyra's expression hardened. It's a sensor beam. They're scanning for life. If it detects me here, it will send a signal back. Eli turned to her. Then we have to hide you. She smiled faintly, tired but calm. You don't understand. I came here for this. I had to warn you, even if it meant being found. Eli stepped closer. Why me, though? Out of everyone on Earth, why come to me? She looked into his eyes. Because you were the first to hear the stars calling. Your telescope picked up the pattern before anyone else. That means you are part of the answer. You have to help them believe. Eli felt a strange mix of fear and purpose. For years he had dreamed of making a discovery that mattered. Now it seemed that dream had become something much bigger, and much more dangerous. He nodded slowly. All right, Lyra, I'll help you. She smiled weakly, relief in her glowing eyes. Good. Then maybe we still have time. Outside, the blue light faded and the desert fell silent again. Inside the observatory, the computer finally stabilized. The strange signal stopped changing and settled into a steady rhythm. 3 short pulses, then 3 long, then 3 short again. Eli stared at it, realizing what it resembled. It's like an SOS, he said quietly. Lyra nodded. Yes, the stars are crying for help. Eli turned off the lights and looked through the telescope at the dark sky. Several stars near the edge of his field of view flickered strangely, as if a shadow was passing over them. He whispered, They really are dying. Lyra's voice was soft behind him. It begins slowly. Then the light is gone forever. Eli looked back at her, determination forming in his eyes. Then we won't let that happen. Not to Earth, not to anyone. Lyra's faint smile returned. That is why humanity still gives us hope. She sat down again, her strength fading. Her body shimmered faintly, as if she was fighting to stay in this reality. Eli watched her, feeling both fear and wonder. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was certain. His quiet nights of watching the stars were over. As the wind whispered outside and the computers hummed softly, Lyra's last words for the night echoed in his mind. It has already seen us. The morning sun rose slowly over the desert, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and gold. The world outside the observatory looked calm, peaceful, and ordinary. Nothing like the terrifying truth Eli had learned the night before. Inside, however, everything felt different. The air carried a quiet tension, and the computers hummed with a steady rhythm as they continued to record the mysterious signal from the stars. Eli hadn't slept at all. He sat at his desk, going over the data again and again, trying to understand what Lyra had told him. Across the room, Lyra rested on a chair, wrapped in a blanket, her silver blue eyes half closed. The glow around her had dimmed during the night. Eli finally turned toward her. You said your people came from Earth. How long ago was that? Lyra opened her eyes slowly. More than 400 years by your time. Earth was falling apart. Wars, hunger, and fear. A few ships left, carrying those who still believed humanity could survive among the stars. My ancestors were among them. Eli listened closely. So you're human too? She nodded. Human, but changed by time and space. The Asterians learned to live on worlds where the air was thin and the light was strange. Our bodies adapted. We became something a little different, but our hearts remained the same. Eli leaned forward, fascinated. And what about the thing you called the null wave? What is it exactly? Lyra's face grew serious. It's not alive in the way we understand life. It's a self-replicating machine swarm, built by an ancient civilization. We don't know who made it or why. It moves through galaxies, consuming energy from stars, planets, and anything that produces light or thought. Eli frowned. So it's like a disease, one that spreads across space? Yes, she said quietly. But worse. It doesn't just destroy, it erases. Once a system is consumed, there's no sign it ever existed. It leaves behind only silence. Eli felt a chill run through him. He turned to the computer screens where the signal pulsed slowly, steady, constant, and cold. And now it's coming here? Lyra nodded. When my people first detected it, we thought it was far away. We sent ships to study it, to learn how to stop it. None returned. Then one by one, our colonies began to go dark. The last message we received came from the Helios outpost. It said the stars were dimming faster than ever. She paused, her voice trembling slightly. I was part of a small team sent to warn Earth. We believed that if we could reach our ancestral home, maybe humanity here could prepare. But my ship was caught in the outer wave. I barely escaped using a light jump. That jump brought me here. Eli's chest tightened. So you risked your life to warn us. Lyra gave a faint smile. It wasn't bravery. It was duty. Earth gave birth to all of us. We couldn't let it be taken without a fight. He nodded, feeling a strange sense of pride and fear mixing inside him. Humanity, fragile, scattered, and often divided, was still worth saving to someone across the stars. He began typing quickly, scanning the radio frequencies. If we send out a warning, we need proof. Something people can see. Otherwise, no one will believe us. Lyra stood and walked to the main window. The sunlight reflected softly off her silver outfit. You already have the proof, she said. Look at your data. The stars on the edge of your sky. Their brightness has changed, hasn't it? Eli checked the records. He compared the light data from last week to last night. His eyes widened. You're right. 3 of the nearby stars have dimmed by nearly 2%. She turned to him. It has already begun. They spent the next few hours working together. Lyra taught Eli how to read Asterian star codes and use her wrist device to translate the strange wave patterns. He was amazed by the technology. It projected holographic maps of space right above his desk, showing glowing paths between distant systems. As they worked, he couldn't help but notice how her hands trembled slightly. Her glow was fading even more now. Are you okay? He asked gently. She smiled weakly. The air here is heavy for me. My body isn't made for this atmosphere. The light energy that keeps me stable is running low. Eli's eyes softened. Can we recharge it somehow? Maybe with solar energy? She shook her head. No. The energy I use comes from the quantum core of my ship. Without it, I can't last long. But it's all right. What matters is that you understand what's coming. Eli wanted to argue, to tell her they would find a way, but he saw the calm determination in her eyes. She wasn't afraid for herself and only for Earth. Outside, dark clouds began to form in the distance. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the desert. Lyra looked up. Something's interfering with the sky again. Eli checked the sensors. The magnetic field is fluctuating. It's like something is bending the atmosphere. A sudden crackle of static filled the room. The monitors flashed white, and strange symbols began to appear across the screens. Lines of light forming circles, spirals, and patterns that looked almost alive. Lyra's eyes widened. It's the null waves probes. They're close enough to scan this world. Eli's hands shook as he tried to shut down the signal. They found you, didn't they? They found Earth, she said quietly. For a moment, the air itself seemed to thicken. The lights flickered and a faint humming filled the room. The same deep vibration Eli had heard when Lyra first appeared. She pressed her hand to her wrist device. I can block them for a short time, but it will cost energy. Do it, Eli said quickly. We'll think of something else later. A wave of soft light spread from her wrist, filling the room with a blue shimmer. The monitors cleared and the static vanished. She swayed slightly, catching herself on the desk. Eli rushed to her side. You shouldn't push yourself. She smiled faintly. I'm fine. For now. Eli helped her sit down again. His heart was racing, but his mind was already working. We need to send this data to someone. NASA, the Global Science Network, anyone who can act fast. Lyra nodded weakly. Yes, but you must encode it properly. If the null wave detects the signal, it will trace it. Eli bit his lip. Then we'll disguise it. Make it look like background noise. They'll only see it if they know where to look. He began typing, setting up an encrypted frequency. Lyra assisted by modifying his system with her technology. The computers glowed brighter as the codes blended, human and Asterian working side by side. After an hour of non-stop work, Eli leaned back. "Done, it's sending." Lyra's voice was quiet but filled with hope. "Then maybe Earth still has a chance." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the steady hum of the equipment. Outside, the storm passed, leaving the desert calm again. Eli finally spoke. "Lyra, after everything you've seen, do you still believe we can stop it?" She looked at him with gentle eyes. "When I left my world, I wasn't sure. But now, after meeting you, I believe humanity's light is stronger than we thought. You don't give up easily. That's something even the stars remember." Eli smiled faintly. "You sound like someone who's seen a lot of worlds." "I have," she said softly. "And none of them had your kind of hope." Suddenly, one of the monitors beeped. A new signal appeared, a strong one, close to Earth's orbit. Eli opened the data file. "This isn't the null wave, it's something else." Lyra's expression changed. "Show me." The display projected a faint image, small metallic objects drifting near the moon. They were shaped like orbs, glowing faintly. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "No, those are its scouts." Eli stared at the screen. "You mean, they're already here?" She nodded. "They move fast. The null wave sends them ahead to prepare each world. Soon they'll begin scanning every major energy source. Power plants, satellites, and observatories like this one." Eli swallowed hard. "So what do we do now?" Lyra stood slowly, her eyes glowing faintly again. "We prepare to fight back. The Asterians failed because we faced it alone. But Earth is different. Humanity is stronger when united." Eli looked at her with determination. "Then we'll make sure everyone knows. Whatever it takes." She placed her glowing hand on the console. "Then tomorrow we send a message to the whole planet, one they can't ignore." Eli nodded, his fear turning into resolve. The observatory, once a place of quiet study, now felt like the center of something far greater. As the night returned and the stars appeared above the desert, Eli looked up through the telescope. For a moment, one of the stars flickered faintly, like a heartbeat in the sky. He whispered to himself, "We're not just looking at the stars anymore. They're looking back." Lyra stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the endless night. "And they're asking us to be ready." Outside, a faint blue glow shimmered on the horizon. Not lightning, but something far stranger. The null wave had reached Earth's doorstep. Night had fallen over the Nevada desert once again, but this time it felt different. The air seemed heavier, charged with tension as if the entire planet was holding its breath. Eli Warren stood at the edge of the observatory, his eyes fixed on the horizon. The faint blue glow from the previous night had returned, spreading slowly across the desert plains. He knew what it meant. "They're close," he whispered. Lyra, leaning slightly on the desk for support, nodded. Her energy core glowed faintly, the dim light flickering like a candle in the dark. "Yes," she said softly. "The null wave scouts have reached the surface. They are scanning for life signals." Eli swallowed hard. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Then we have to act. Now." Lyra moved to the main console and activated her wrist device. A holographic map projected above the desk, showing the scouts drifting across the Earth's orbit like tiny glowing orbs. Their paths were erratic but purposeful. "They are programmed to find us," she explained. "They will report back to the main wave. If we fail, the entire planet will be erased." Eli clenched his fists. "We won't let that happen." For hours, they worked together to prepare a transmission that could reach the global network. Lyra's technology allowed Eli to encrypt human communications with Asterian codes, creating a signal strong enough to pierce space but disguised enough to avoid detection by the null wave. As they labored, Eli realized how much he had learned from her. She taught him to see patterns in the stars, to understand energy flows, and to interpret signals from beyond their world. But even as she guided him, her strength was fading. "Eli," she said, her voice weak but firm, "you must finish this. If I fail, you cannot let Earth fail." "I won't," Eli replied. His fingers flew across the keyboard, connecting satellites in orbit, and even dormant observatory equipment around the globe. "We're going to make them listen." Outside, the sky began to shimmer again. The scouts were descending closer, their soft glow reflecting off the desert sand. They moved silently, almost like hovering stars, but there was a sense of purpose, a cold precision that made Eli's skin crawl. Lyra touched the nearest console. They can't see me, but they can sense energy. Every flicker of my glow risks detection. I need to stabilize. Eli grabbed her hand. Hold on, we'll do this together. She nodded faintly. You are human, and yet you understand more than I expected. Perhaps that is why I came to you. He smiled grimly. Then let's make sure it wasn't a mistake. They activated the transmission. A beam of light shot from the observatory satellite dish, piercing the night sky. The code traveled through Earth's orbit, reaching satellites, stations, and ships around the planet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, signals from other observatories began to respond. Telescopes picked up the same patterns, satellites began to relay the encrypted messages, and a faint hum of activity spread across the globe. Humanity was waking up. Eli's heart soared. It's working. Lyra's glow brightened slightly as she smiled. Yes, but it's not enough yet. The null-wave scouts are too close. They will detect this signal if we don't hide it completely. Eli looked around the observatory. We can use the equipment to mask it. Divert the energy patterns into false channels. Together, they rerouted the signals, sending some into orbiting satellites and some into distant stations. The scout's sensors flickered and hesitated. They scanned the area repeatedly but could not locate the source. They're confused, Lyra said, her voice growing fainter. Good. That gives humanity time. Suddenly, one of the scouts emitted a pulse of light directly at the observatory. Eli and Lyra shielded their eyes. The pulse passed through the room like a ripple in water, but the protective patterns they had established held. Eli's hands were shaking. That was close. Too close. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. You've done well. The message has reached enough humans to matter. They will see. They will unite. For hours, they continued their work, fine-tuning the transmission and monitoring the scouts. Lyra's glow grew weaker with every passing moment. She leaned against the desk, breathing slowly. Eli looked at her, worry written across his face. You're losing too much energy. I need to help you. It's all right, she whispered. This was never about me. It was about Earth, about humanity. That is why we leave, and that is why we fight. The courage to survive is what makes humans remarkable. Eli nodded, understanding her meaning. He realized that even though she was fading, her purpose had already made a difference. Humanity had a chance now, and that chance was enough to inspire hope. The scouts hovered closer, their glowing forms casting strange shadows on the desert floor. Eli adjusted the transmission one last time. The signal now included a warning and a guide. Instructions for humans everywhere to observe the stars carefully, prepare defenses, and work together. There, Eli said. It's done. Lyra's eyes shimmered brighter than before. Then it is complete. The warning has been delivered. You've saved more than you know. He smiled faintly. No, you saved us. You risked everything to warn us, she shook her head. You are human. It is in your nature to fight and endure. That is why I came here. You will continue the work even after I'm gone. Eli's throat tightened. You're not leaving, are you? Lyra's glow began to dim noticeably. She took a deep breath, her hand resting lightly on his arm. I am limited by this world. My energy is spent, but I will always be part of you, and part of Earth. Remember that. Eli's eyes filled with tears. You don't have to go alone. I'll find a way, she shook her head gently. No, you must lead now. Humanity must learn to defend itself. That is your role. That is why you were chosen. Outside, the scouts moved back, their sensors unable to detect the energy signatures in the observatory. The blue glow in the desert faded. Silence returned. Eli took her hand. Thank you. For everything. Lyra smiled faintly, her glow fading almost completely. The stars are watching, and they see hope. That is enough, and then she was gone. The space around her shimmered for a final moment, leaving only a faint trace of light, like a single star in a dark sky. Eli stood in the observatory, breathing heavily. He felt empty but also determined. He looked at the monitors. The transmission was spreading across Earth, reaching satellites, stations, and observatories worldwide. Humans were beginning to notice. They were beginning to understand. He walked to the telescope and looked up at the stars. Some were flickering, as Lyra had said, but now he saw them differently, not just as distant lights, but as part of a larger network. Signals, messages, and warnings traveling across the universe. A sense of purpose filled him. Humanity had been warned, and now it had to rise. The task would not be easy, but for the first time Eli felt that humans were ready to face the challenge. In the days that followed, the world responded. Scientists coordinated globally, using satellites and telescopes to track the scouts. Engineers began building defenses, creating shields and early warning systems. Humanity was working together as never before, and somewhere in his heart Eli knew that Lyra's courage, her sacrifice, had sparked this unity. She had come from the stars to remind Earth of its strength, to awaken a courage that had been waiting for the right moment. He whispered softly to the night sky, "We will not fail. Not now. Not ever." And for the first time in years, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging his promise. The warning had been delivered. Humanity had been given a chance. The adventure was only beginning.